over 1.3 million startups around the world. There's 480 innovation ecosystems around the world. And those numbers are already probably outdated and are bigger already. Innovation has really moved around the world, and so has the creation of successful businesses. And so now best practice is shifting. In the book, I talk about this notion of frontier innovators. And obviously, the world of innovation is not Silicon Valley or not Silicon Valley. It's much more heterogeneous than that. Using one highly simplistic heuristic, you might say there are startup ecosystems that are operating in more developing or developed countries and in more developing or developed startup ecosystems. You might say Silicon Valley operating in a developed country and a very, very strong startup ecosystem. In the book, I talk about entrepreneurs operating in North Korea, right? You might say opposite end of both spectrums, developing country, very nascent startup ecosystem. And then there's places like Winnipeg, right? In Canada, developed country, but very emerging startup ecosystem. And on the opposite end, you might say Bangalore, right? Powerhouse of innovation in a developing country. And obviously there's a lot of differences in these places. So in the book, I purposely take us to extremes. I juxtapose what it's like to innovate in places in sub-Saharan Africa relative to the Valley to really show the extreme differences. But to pull apart some of the threads, I look in some of the places that are a little bit more similar in some dimensions and different in others. And I think that taken together, when you look at it, you say, look, the book is not a recipe book. It isn't a follow A, B, C, and D, and you'll get C, right? You can't copy paste what happens in Brazil and put it in India. In any case, you still need to be thoughtful and reflective and understand the local context too. So I think this is much more, I think the ideas that I have around being a playbook, around take what works, leave what doesn't, apply it, but be reflective and think about what the right playbook is for you in your ecosystem. And so that's a little bit of how I think the frontier works and how some of these entrepreneurs are themselves similar to each other, but also, obviously have a lot of nuances between them as well.